Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of The Power in Your Story. I'm Marianne Strange, your confident communication expert, helping you speak your truth through story. And I'm rather thrilled today to be having a chat with Larissa Popov, who is a divine business mentor. I mean, what a wonderful title. This is just lovely. So welcome, Larissa.
Thank you.
So Larissa, I tend to, though Larissa and I we've talked sometimes, haven't we? But it's been a while. So, you know, you guys will be joining me as I sort of get curious and excited as to Larissa's journey from what she's doing before along to what she's doing now as an entrepreneur. So Larissa, if we sort of go back a little bit, tell us what you were doing before you sort of officially started your journey as an entrepreneur.
Well, I was actually always an entrepreneur from the very beginning. Yeah, I was a naturopathic doctor. So that's in my country, in Canada, we are entrepreneurs. We don't work for the government or anything like that. So I was an entrepreneur from day one. And so, yeah, in my previous life, I was a doctor, but we are entrepreneurial doctors. And as you might expect with a lot of people who go into the profession, the healing professions, you know, we go into it because we want to help people, we want to heal people, and we're not into it for the business side of things, right? That's an afterthought. And so you go through all this education and training, you come out of school with really strong skills as a clinician, but then it's like, okay, now you have to be a business owner. Now all of a sudden the challenge completely shifts from like, how do I graduate to how do I actually make a living? And it was very hard for me because I am a spiritual teacher and I had all kinds of beliefs around it's unethical even to take people's money. Like I was doing a lot of community service. I was used to working for free. And here it's like, you're asking me to give what I love to do and I'm passionate about from my heart and take money for it. It was like so uncomfortable. Yeah. And the thought of marketing myself, like going out there and bragging and telling people how great I am. And it was terrifying and it felt unethical too. It felt like, you know, this doesn't feel aligned for me. So long story short, I didn't do it. I basically relied on grace, you know, prayer and energetic shifting and things like that to have clients come to me and find me because I was really not doing much to promote myself. So
sorry to interrupt, but I take it when you were being trained, you got no real input as to the marketing.
Yeah. Right? Well, we had very little. You know, the program is so intensive. Like there's so many hours that they give us one semester, but it's very basic, like how to create a business plan, which nobody really uses, and then you know how to do basic accounting, and that's basically it. You know, but yeah, not in terms of marketing and things like that. It wasn't in depth. So did not have hardly any tools. And anyways, so I struggled and I lived in poverty. Like I really suffered just to make ends meet. I had all this student loan debt. I was so stressed. And over time, I realized I was holding myself back. Like my hangups about money and being able to receive money, my hangups around putting myself out in the world and sharing what I had to offer was coming up. And eventually I realized it was me. I was holding myself back. You know, it's so easy to point the finger and say, oh, it's the circumstances. There's too much competition, or, you know, the area I'm in, and, you know, something like nobody wants what I have to offer, right? There's all these excuses we can make, but really it's us and what we're allowing ourselves to let in. So eventually I hired a coach and I did the inner work. I cleared my blocks around my relationship to money and my worthiness and my willingness to be visible. And I got the business training too, in marketing and sales and all that kind of stuff. And then pretty quickly, my business started building and growing. And as I got busier, I realized I'm not really loving this. You know, there are aspects of it. I always loved doing the mental, emotional kind of work, but I wasn't so crazy about all the different aspects that went into being an ND. And so as I started to really own that I can make my business what I want it to be, right? It's my business. I get to decide what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah.
It evolved into coaching. I went in eventually over time, I kind of segued into coaching. And then that's where I arrived at becoming a business coach, where I realized like there's so many people out there going into entrepreneurship who are like me. They're very spiritual. They're uncomfortable about the money stuff. They're uncomfortable about being visible. And you really need to grow into that evolution of stepping into that confidence and that courage and that resilience to be an entrepreneur and be successful. So that's what I wanted to do for other people.
Beautiful. So it was the money that you'd worked on, and the visibility, and what was the third one?
Oh, well, the marketing and sales too, right? Just having marketing skills and learning to sell. I was so terrible at selling, even in the early stages of my coaching business. You know, it was, but I was so determined. I always loved the topic of sales. I was always fascinated by it. Just this idea of the sales process and why is there so much stigma around it, and how can it be? How can we do it with integrity, and how can we do it in a spiritual way? I was fascinated by that. So I really worked at it, and now I teach sales.
That's amazing, isn't it? How our struggles often become what we teach, and it's so powerful. So would you say that it was once you had that help from that coach for the visibility and the sales, you know, the business techniques, and dealing with some of the money mindset, that gave you the opportunity to see more clients as a naturopathic doctor, and then over time there was something that told you that wasn't quite what you wanted to do. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The inner work, I feel, is, you know, it's 90% or more of our ability to be successful, because if we're energetically blocking, if we've got fears, you know, we literally feel it in our bodies, right? The fear, the discomfort, and whether it's subconscious or it's conscious, we find ways to procrastinate, to avoid, to make excuses, right? Anything and everything to avoid the needful thing that will actually advance our business and allow us to have the very thing we want. Like that is it's such a profound truth that the thing that we want the most in life is the one thing that we are resisting the most. And
that's wonderful. So did you find when you had that time, was it a bit like an aha, oh my goodness, having had that coaching, or did that realization happen over time?
I could see it happening over time, because I could see I was opening up, I was relaxing about everything. There was so much greater freedom in my ability to take action, and as well in my presence, and how I was communicating with the world, and so in my energy as well as in the actions I was taking.
Lovely. So it was actually the more you were stepping into being you, the easier it started to become. Beautiful. Now, I also know that recently, and I know we did an interview at least 2 or 3 years ago, a long time ago, many moons ago, and we were talking about I think it was the sales strategy session, and you were definitely focusing on a lot of, you know, that and helping people with their marketing and to feel more comfortable. And I know that having been following you and keeping in touch with you know, some of your comments, some of your posts, that you yourself have had a sort of a bit of a fork in the road, a slightly different bifurcation, where you made a choice to continue to follow your true self. So perhaps you could tell us a bit more, because I'm curious to hear.
I think that we all, as entrepreneurs, the clarity comes over time, right? That we have to work with where we're at, you know, the clients that we work with, the problems that we're solving, what we feel aligned with is true in the moment. And then we're constantly evolving into greater levels of clarity and alignment. And I think that that's an ongoing process. And so for me, there was a really big shift that happened for me it was quite a while ago now, like at least 6 months ago, but I had reached a point in my business where, you know, I was really successful. I had so many programs and challenges under my belt, and you know, I had spoken on stages, I had an international best-selling book, and I had done all these things, but I felt like I felt like my business was running me. I felt like I had created a job. I had been so stressed creating all these things and putting it out in the world and promoting it. I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week, and it was killing me. Like, I was really disconnected from myself, my intuition. It was funny that, you know, in the times when I was doing volunteer work, because I teach yoga every week as a volunteer and things like that, then I would feel really connected to my intuition. But during the week, it was just go, 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 do, do, do. And eventually I hit this breaking point where I realized, like, I can't do this. This is my business, and I'm not loving this. There's so many things about this that I don't enjoy. Launching was one of them. But I was really I had to take a step back and reassess everything that I was doing in my business, because something wasn't right. And I realized that a while ago, before this crisis had occurred, I had been on a silent retreat. So I'd been in silent meditation for a whole week and spent a lot of time, you know, going inwards. And when I came out of that silent retreat, I had a really profound insight that I was here to teach the yoga of business, or the yoga of entrepreneurship. And I was so, because I'm a spiritual teacher, that's the background I come from, the Vedas, and teaching yoga, not just the stretching, but, you know, the way of looking at life and managing your mind and your emotions and all that stuff that's part of yoga. And
so if I could just pause you there, just to clarify,
yeah.
because then there will be sort of listeners. Well, one, I want to backtrack and just find out what were the other things you didn't enjoy, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of listeners that think, oh, thank goodness somebody said that. And then afterwards, maybe we could segue to the sort of more whole approach to yoga,
Sure.
because there are so many of us that just think of, you say, as a stretch here and a stretch, which is wonderful, but there's more to it. And yeah, you could let us know. Yeah.
Sure. So you wanted to know about the things that I didn't love?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't love the launching. I didn't like this. I'm the kind of person who, I'm very focused, but I have very short, I can only last so many hours, and then I get burnt out. I'm very sensitive. I'm very empathic. I absorb energy from my environment. So I get tired very quickly and easily. And so the launch model is just not working for me. I couldn't, no matter how many spiritual practices I did, it was really hard to sustain, you know, that continuous promotion and momentum and high energy for, you know, for multiple weeks to get to the end of the launch, right?
Yeah.
And it's very much about putting all of your eggs in one basket. You know, it's like all of your sales are riding on this one event, and it's going to work or it's not going to work, and you just have to see how it goes, right? Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. So I decided I'm to respect myself and make a business that I want. I'm going to do things in a different way. I want to do things the way it feels good to me. So that was one thing. And I wasn't loving the way that I was marketing myself, like writing emails and like, oh, what am I going to write today? What am I going to post today? And just not really enjoying it, feeling like it's just another task that I have to do to get my word out there. And it was, for me, the realization that I arrived at was that it's really a mindset shift in how you approach things. And you know, I guess we'll get to that at some point. Those were the main things. And just even realizing that, which is what I'm arriving at with the yoga of business, like the direction that I was going down in my business was not really me. It's like I had kind of embodied what my coaches were leaning into for me and recommending for me. And I tend to be a very good student. Like, I do what my teacher says. And if I've hired a coach, I'm like, I'm going to listen to you because you are the authority, right? Like, I trust you to take me in the right direction. And so I was doing everything that they were telling me to do. But then that moment when I had that insight about the yoga of business or yoga of entrepreneurship, I brought it to my coaches, and I was so excited. I was like, this is it. This is my thing. Because I was looking for, like, how am I different from everybody else, right? And this is my thing. This is the essence of who I am. And I was so pumped about it. I mentioned, I expressed it to, you know, get some insight about strategy or just how to integrate it in some way. And they said, don't do that. It's not a good idea. It didn't fit with their model, or there are certain rules they had about what's right for marketing. Like, what is the yoga business? What does that mean? People aren't going to understand that, or not everybody likes yoga. Yoga is polarizing, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I knew inside that, well, the people that are meant to work with me are going to resonate with it. And that's all that counts, right? Powerful. And I think that's one of the take-home messages. I'm getting confirmation chills right now. So I just want to emphasize that it's not about being generic, being everything to everyone. You need to be true to yourself. And by being true to yourself, you're going to call those people forward that are going to resonate with you. And my audience is going to click with yoga business, or they're going to get it. They want that, you know, they're attracted to that. And so I don't have to be afraid to be myself and do the thing that I feel is right. So when that happened, I felt totally crushed. I was like, and that's when that beginning of this existential crisis happened, where I was like, what am I doing in my business? Like, if I can't trust my own intuition, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing wrong? Am I so off base that every genius idea I have is not right? Like, it's the wrong way to go? Am I just not cut out for business at all if my instincts are so off? So, and eventually I arrived at this place. I'm like, no, it's just, you're listening to you're not being true to yourself. You put the authority in someone else's hands, and you need to be true to yourself. And that's when I the first action I took in that direction was changing the name of my Facebook group from Becoming Confident and Empowered to the Yoga of High Ticket Selling. So it sounds like a very radical shift, but for me, it was really just me. It was the same thing that I was always doing. It was just now I was showing that to the world in a very transparent way, like very clearly, like, this is who I am, this is what I do. It's what I've always done, but now I'm putting that forward.
And actually letting everybody know and speaking her truth, guys. Yeah. This is really important. So powerful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. So
I think to answer that question about yoga in the greater sense, if this is a good place to share that, you know, I look at the chakra system as a model of understanding how we understand, how we navigate our own feelings and emotions and experiences. But also yoga really fundamentally is about union. Like, the word yoga comes from the word yoke, which means union with the divine. And through skillful awareness of ourselves and our connection to the divine, we can learn to manage our mind. We can learn to manage our emotions and be skillful. You know, yoga is ultimately, it's about skillful action through awareness of the self. And being happy. Fundamentally, it's about being happy. How do we navigate things? How do we shift our perspective so that stresses and difficult experiences can roll off our back, or that we can see them from an empowering perspective rather than from in a way that takes our energy down into a negative and dark place. So that's kind of a big picture way of looking at yoga. And the breathing and the asanas and all that stuff are all tools that help us to raise our energy. Yes. And, you know, because the more our energy is raised, the more our vibration goes up, the more positive we are, the more empowered we are, all those kinds of things.
Beautiful, beautiful. So it was actually after this 7-day retreat that you got this sort of awakening, I suppose, to what you really needed. And since then,
that I needed to bring in, because up until that point, I was still doing it. It was just that I had, in my mind, I had compartmentalized, like, my yoga teaching and my spiritual teacher stuff is over here, and my business stuff is over here, you know, and my coaching and all that stuff. And I hadn't really merged it together, and that was draining me. It was draining my energy to have to keep trying to wear different hats at different times. I wanted to bring everything together, integrate it all.
Beautiful. So now that you sort of see it as a whole, the flow is much easier for you.
Yes, the end result of this integration is, for me, I feel aligned, which for me it means clarity. It means I feel solid and confident in what I'm doing. I know I have something special. I feel excited and enthusiastic to create my posts now. It's like marketing and writing emails is fun because I get to do it the way I want to do it. Like the thing that was holding me back was this feeling of like, I have to do it this way. I should be doing it this way. I need to follow what they said. Or, you know, I think that one of the biggest obstacles that we get in as entrepreneurs, and that this is a big thing that I teach with my clients, is, you know, working on this awareness around how much we care what other people think. How much, think about the post or a Facebook Live, you're like, what does my audience want to hear? Like, what are they interested in? What is that magic thing that I'm going to say that they're all gonna, it's gonna be clickbait and everybody's gonna love it and comment and engage? And, you know, we're constantly like putting our attention outwards, trying to figure out what do other people want to hear, what is gonna make them happy, or what is, do the right thing according to someone else's idea, whether it's our authorities, our coaches, or our colleagues, or our family members even, that have certain ideas of what we should be doing. And we're constantly trying to fulfill these expectations rather than just doing what we want to do. It's so simple, but it's so, to me, it's so profound and so revolutionary to be like, okay, it's my business. I get to do what I want to do. I get to express and share what I want to share. And so when I'm writing my posts, it's very cathartic. And because I get to speak something true for me, I'm not thinking about, are they going to like this? Is this going to catch on? Or, you know, I'm just focusing on what I want to say, and then knowing that the people that resonate with this message are going to find it and going to be attracted to it. And that's a completely different way of running your business.
And that is so powerful. And I take it that now you're much happier with.
Oh yeah.
I can see it. I mean, guys, we can see in Larissa's face, you know, lighting up, smiles. Oh, what a difference. And I've been smiling so often. It's such music to my ears to hear these things, because it's so true. It's so easy to get drowned in what we ought to do. And that's so much, as you say, sometimes in life, there's so much, you ought to do this and you ought to do that. And as empaths, or people that are sensitive, or people who want to get this just right, then you can wrap yourself up in knots and then you just blame yourself. Whereas actually it's more of you that we want to see. And that's such a powerful story. Oh, I just love that. Thank you so much. Before we move on, I know you've got something to offer. Is there any sort of final sort of words you wanted to say? It was a lovely story.
Yeah, I just feel called to say that, sorry, it takes courage. Yeah. You know, like I said, we're all evolving and growing into greater level, again, confirmation chills, goosebumps. You know, we're all evolving into those greater levels of authenticity, and it takes a lot of courage because we're entering into new levels of vulnerability. And how we show up. We're showing parts of ourselves that we didn't let the world see before. And for whatever reason, that's very personal, why we were afraid to share that with others. So just, you know, love yourself through that process and realize, yes, it does take courage, but it's so powerful. You know, the difference in the response that I'm getting from the emails and the posts that I write now is radical. Given just the level that I'm not trying to be someone else anymore. I'm bringing more of myself forward than I ever have, and people feel it.
People do.
It does take courage.
Yes, it does take courage, and I admire your courage, and it's going to be an inspiration to others, I know. And it does take courage. And you know, with everything that I teach and all my years in speaking, and though I can analyze what's going on, you know, in great detail because I've studied it, nonetheless, we as speakers and listeners and the audience, we have these inbuilt senses, and somehow we compute when there's that person that really is talking to us. And it does feel different, very much.
That's authenticity, that's alignment.
Yes, yes, that's beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful words. Beautiful words, Larissa. Now, I know you've got something to offer. I just love this. It's a connection charisma quiz.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister of a name. That's what it is.
I love words with C, you know, I always play the right, confident communication, blah, blah, blah. And they're thinking,
Yes.
these are very nice.
Yeah, so this quiz is about really, you know, we were talking a lot today about self-reflecting and really connecting with who we are and our unique gifts and what we have to offer the world, and being willing to have the courage to show that in a bigger way and really celebrate that. And so that's what this quiz is essentially really about. It's a quick 2-minute quiz. And when you opt in for it, you're going to receive a personalized report based on your answers, which will tell you what are your unique strengths in terms of why are your soulmate clients attracted to you? What is unique about you that they really love, so that you can celebrate and bring that forward and just really own it. Like, these are qualities that, like, these are my gifts that people are attracted to me about. I'm also going to share the challenges, like what are the kind of the flip side, the shadow side that tends to come up when you're that particular type, because we all have, you know, there's always two sides to the coin, right? Whenever we have a strength, there's always a tendency when we're feeling maybe doubtful or energy is low, that we flip into these other sides. So it's become more aware of those shadows so that we can work on clearing those and really embracing them, and just letting, the more we can also integrate those shadows into who we are and allow that, just accept self-acceptance, the more relaxed and confident we're going to be, because we're not trying to show this fake image to the world. We can just be like, yep, you know, these are also things that are, that's how I am, like, take me or leave me, right? So the challenges, and then also there's a toolkit that's specific to your type around some mantras and even mudras, which is a yogic tool, a way of shifting the energy in your body to help support your particular type. And I had so much fun doing the photos. I did a photo shoot for each type and playing the character of each particular type, and the photos are super fun. I had a lot of fun making it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I'll pop the details in the show notes below, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I have the very powerful story that Larissa had to tell us about her journey to true alignment. She was all of her career an entrepreneur, but step by step, she started to move to really who she is, and is now comfortable, aligned, and happy with what she's doing. And that's, I think, something that so many people strive for. So it was a beautiful story. If you're interested in crafting your stories, I'm going to pop a link down below as well, using stories when speaking. Stories are a wonderful way to connect, and I know you'll feel a lot more connected with Larissa, because she allowed some vulnerability too, to actually tell the story, to actually say, hey guys, I'm not totally perfect, which, surprise, surprise, none of us are. And which is good to know, isn't it? It's reassuring. And so thank you for that wonderful story, Larissa, and some lovely insights, which is very true about the courage and the confidence we need to take that extra step forward. Very powerful story. I'm so thrilled that you were able to take some time out and let us know on a very sunny day. So I'm honored. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you, Larissa.